Good morning, dear students. Greetings and good wishes to you all. Today, in this hour, one of our student, Miss Sona M, she is presenting her seminar talk on endocrinology, and she is from second year CZBT. Now, this virtual platform is Sona's. Now, over to Sona. You can start with your seminar topic on endocrinology.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. Hi, Sona. I'm from second year CZBT. Is now here to present a seminar talk on endocrinology. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Pratibha, ma'am, head of Department Biotech, for encouraging and giving me this opportunity to deliver this seminar. I heartily welcome you all for this seminar session. Let's start up a topic that is endocrinology. So, this is very connecting topic. In this seminar, we'll know superficially the structure of glands and in depth about hormones produced and their functions and disorder related to them. Now, the introduction. Endocrinology is the branch of physiology and medicine concerned with endocrine glands and hormones. This definition is based on the medical terms. So, simply, we can tell it as the study of endocrine glands. So, in this session, we'll deal about the hormones. So all your emotions are controlled by the hormones. So some emotions are listed on like you'll feel happy when you get a new dress, bikes, toys, etc. How is it? It's because of hormone called dopamine. You feel stressed when you work hard. That is also due to a hormone called corticotropin. You feel loud by seeing beautiful things, hearing some beautiful songs. So that is because of a hormone called oxytocin. You feel hunger, that is because of an hormone called epinephrine. So in this session, we'll deal about the contents like glands, the def, their definition and type, endocrine system, introduction and its glands. So under the glands, there are some glands like hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, thymus, adrenal, and pancreas. So their location, hormones secreted, and functions and disorders we are going to learn. So now let's start up our talk on glands. So the organs which secrete particular chemical substances for use in the body or for discharge into the surrounding. There are three types of glands in our body. Those are endocrine glands, exocrine glands, and heterocrine glands. So now the exocrine glands. So these glands are that secretes their products into the duct. So these are called exocrine glands. So some examples like enzymes are the products of exocrine glands. Now the endocrine glands. So these secretes their products directly into the bloodstream rather than through a duct. So example for these are pituitary gland, thyroid gland and parathyroid gland, etc. So next is the heterocrine gland. So the gland that performs both exocrine and endocrine functions are called heterocrine glands. Example is the pancreas. Now it is the endocrine system. So it consists of glands and groups of capillaries which facilitates diffusion of hormones to bloodstream. So they are ductless glands. So the hormone system that is called the endocrine system in medical terminology has various glands that release different hormones. So hormones are like body's communication system. They take messages from one part of the body to tell another part of the body to do something important. The endocrine glands influence reproduction, metabolism, growth, and many other functions. So it consists of number of glands that is hypothalamus, pituitary, pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, adrenal, pancreas, and thymus gland. So now we are going to start about the hypothalamus. So an area in the base of brain that links the brain. So that to the hormonal system. So the location is it lies just below thalamus, above pituitary gland to which it is attached by a stalk. It is an extremely complex part of brain containing many regions with highly specialized functions. So the size in humans it is size of a pea. It constitutes not even 1% of brain weight. So now you can observe that it is how small it is. So the major hormones secreted by hypothalamus is first one ADH, that is antidiuretic hormone. So it regulates body water level including body volume and blood pressure. Blood volume and blood pressure. Next is oxytocin. It controls some human behavior and reproductive system. It helps in social bonding. It is released into bloodstream as hormone in response to love and labor. Next, dopamine controls mental and emotional response, thus called as a happy hormone. Corticotropin releasing hormone. It controls the body's response to physical and emotional stress, and it is responsible for suppressing the appetite and stimulating anxiety. So thus it is called stress hormone. Next is thyrotropin releasing hormone, that is TRH. It stimulates the production of thyroid hormone, which in turn controls the cardiovascular system, brain development, muscle control, digestive health, and metabolism. Gonadotropin releasing hormone, that is GnRH. It stimulates the release of hormone connected to reproductive function, puberty, and serial metabolism. Next, growth hormone releasing hormone, that is GHRH. It controls growth and physical development in children as well as metabolism in adults. Somatostatin. It inhibits growth and thyroid stimulating hormone. So now we'll learn about the functions. That is the hypothalamus links the hormonal system and the nervous system. Its hormones keep the body stable. They influence sleep rhythms, alertness, appetite, body weight, thirst, blood pressure, heart rate, sex drive, learning, memory, mood, and how the body responds to being sick. So the process controlled by the hypothalamus are heart rate and blood pressure, fluid and electrolytes balance, including thirst, appetite and body weight, glandular secretion of stomach and intestine, sleep cycle, production of substance that influence the pituitary gland to release hormones. Now, the hypothalamic disease. A disease or disorder of hypothalamus is known as hypothalamic disease. Physical injury to head that impacts the hypothalamus. Diseases can include appetite and sleep disorders. In particular, hypothalamus and pituitary gland are tightly connected that it's often difficult to determine whether the condition is associated with hypothalamus or pituitary gland. These are known as hypothalamic pituitary disorders. So now the functions of hypothalamus can be affected by the following, that is brain tumor, surgery, radiation, head tumor, malnutrition, and infection. So the following topic is the pituitary gland. So you can see how small the pituitary gland is in this picture. Now the pituitary gland. It is called the master gland. It is located in a depression, that is sphenoid bone depression, and is attached to hypothalamus by a stalk called infundibulum. It is situated in pituitary fossa in middle cranial fossa. The gland consists of two lobes, that is anterior pituitary lobe and posterior pituitary lobe. So the anterior lobe is called adenohypophysis. Posterior lobe is called neurohypophysis. So in between we have intermediate lobe. So here in this picture you can see the structure of pituitary gland. So anterior pituitary is divided into, it has three parts. So that is pars tubularis, pars distalis, and pars intermediata. So the first part is the anterior lobe. It is an ectodermal derivation formed from Rake's pouch. It consists of two portions, that is pars distalis and pars intermediata, and pars tubularis is a small lobe, so it is not included more. Pars distalis. In humans, it is almost merged with pars intermedia. It produces growth hormone, prolactin, thyroid stimulating hormone, adenocorticotropic hormone, luteinizing hormone, and FSH, that is follicle stimulating hormone. Pars media, intermedia, atropes during fetal development. However, some of its cells migrates into adjacent parts of anterior lobe where they persist. It secretes only one hormone called melanocyte stimulating hormone. Next is the pars tubularis. It is a part of anterior lobe of pituitary gland, and it wraps pituitary sac in a highly vascularized sheath. So the hormones of anterior pituitary are ACTH, that is adenocorticotropic hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, growth hormone, prolactin, and thyroid stimulating hormone. So now the intermediate lobe. So it is present between the anterior lobe and the posterior lobe. So intermediate lobe, the hormones secreted by this lobe are alpha melanocyte stimulating hormone and beta melanocyte stimulating hormone. Next is the closest topic, that is the posterior pituitary lobe. It is also called neurohypophysis or pars nervosa. It stores and releases two hormones called oxytocin and vasopressin, which are actually synthesized by hypothalamus and are transported to neurohypophysis through axons of hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. So now the function of the hormones are like, first one we'll learn about the growth hormone. It helps maintain healthy muscles and bones and manage fat distribution. This effect is mediated by somatomedins. Release of growth hormones is primarily under control of two hypothalamic hormones, that is growth hormone releasing and growth hormone inhibiting hormone. Diseases related to growth hormone is gigantium, acromegaly, and dwarfism. So, so in the first picture you can see the gigantium, in the second that is acromegaly, and the third one is the dwarfism. So this gigantium occurs in patients who have excess amount of growth hormone in their childhood. So symptoms may be like tall stature, mild obesity, headaches, visual changes, exaggerated growth of hands and feet with thick fingers and toes. So in this first figure, you can see how the exaggerated growth of hands and feet are seen. In the second, that is the acromegaly. Here, too much of growth hormone is produced. Symptoms are like physical deformity, abnormally large tongue, bulging chest, deepening of voice, and infrequent menstruation. So, how we can differentiate between these two is, the growth hormone hypersecretion occurs before the fusion of long bone hypophysis and is characterized by tall stature. But in acromegaly, the GH secretion will occur after fusion of the long bone hypophysis. So here you will not see the tall stature. So the next one is the dwarfism. Here the GH production will be less. So the symptoms will be like short stature, slow growth, delayed puberty, hunched back, bowed legs, enlarged head, etc. So next is the prolactin. It plays an important role in development of mammary gland and in milk synthesis. Control of secretion is by stimulating factor, that is It acts via stimulating prolactin releasing factor, example, during pregnancy and breastfeeding. Next, prolactin inhibiting factor, that is, it released by hypothalamus. It inhibits the secretion from anterior pituitary. Dopamine is main prolactin inhibiting factor. So now we'll learn about the thyroid stimulating hormone. Stimulates synthesis and secretion of thyroid hormones like thyroxine T4 and triiodothyronine T3. So next is the ACTH, that is adrenocorticotropic hormone. It is often produced in response to biological stress. Its effect is increased production and relax of corticosteroids. It stimulates and secretion of steroid hormones called glucocorticoids from adrenal cortex. The next hormone is the follicle stimulating hormone. It stimulates growth and development of ovarian follicles in females. In males, FSH and androgen regulates spermatogenesis. FSH also induces satellite cells to secrete inhibin. So the next hormone is the luteinizing hormone. In females, LH induces ovulation of fully mature follicles and maintains corpus luteum. In males, LH is called interstitial cell stimulating hormone as it stimulates the interstitial cells of lady to secrete androgen. LH and FSH stimulates gonadal activity and hence it is called as gonadotrophy. So now the intermediate pituitary hormone. So that is the intermediate lobe also produces alpha and beta melanocyte stimulating hormone as I said in the previous slide. So we'll learn about the function, that is the melanocyte stimulating hormone acts on the melanocytes and regulates pigmentation of the skin. It increases skin pigmentation in lower vertebrates by stimulating the dispersion of melanin granules in melanocytes. So melanin is used for pigmentation. So this melanin and it will produce the skin. Next is the pituitary hormones, that is oxytocin and ADH. Oxytocin acts on smooth muscle of our uterus. It stimulates mammary glands to produce of milk. Next is it is a hypothalamic hormone synthesis in the cell of nucleus. Acts mainly at resorption of water by doctors and thereby reduces loss of water through urine, hence it is called antidiuretic hormone. So ADH also causes constriction of arteriosclerosis, which increases blood pressure, hence it is also known as vasopressin. The secretion of ADH is regulated by osmoreceptors of hypothalamus. So diseases related to ADH are diabetes insipidus and polyuria. So diabetes insipidus, which means here the ADH fails to regulate body's level of water and allows too much of urine to produce and pass from our body. So the symptoms of diabetes insipidus will be like excessive thirst, urination, frequent urination, water electrolyte imbalance, and dehydration. So next is polyuria. So in this diagram only they have given the definition as urine volume will be excess more than 3 liter per day. So here it is also a sign of diabetes. It might be of type 1 diabetes or type 2. So urine volume will be excess. So this makes sugar build up in the bloodstream. So the symptoms may be like thirst, dehydration, and sleeplessness. So the overall function of pituitary gland may be summarized like it controls blood pressure, blood sugar levels, response to stress, menstruation, sperm production, bone growth, muscle mass, contraction during childbirth, making breast milk, and bonding between mother and a baby. So now we'll learn about the pineal gland. So this gland is marked in green dot. You can see in this diagram. So now the pineal gland. The human pineal gland is located behind the third cerebral ventricle in the midline, that is between two cerebral hemispheres of the brain. It is named for its pine cone shape. So once it was called as third eye also. So the pineal gland consists mainly pinealocytes, which are the cells that produce the hormone melatonin, and glial cells, which are a particular type of brain cells that supports neurons, the cells that transmit information to other cells. So a bit histology will study, like the pineal gland consists of two types of cells, as you know, that is pinealocytes and astrocytes. So it has connective tissue, mast cells, nerve fibers, etc. also. So now we'll learn about the first type of cell, that is pinealocyte. So it is a neurosecretory cell. It has nucleated cell body like structure and also possesses short and long processes like neuron. So in this diagram, you can see the short processes, two processes you can see. It has prominent nucleolus, a little RNA. Free ribosomes are distributed in the cytoplasm. Dendrites like two short processes are present. It has lipoprotein nature, plasma membrane. So there are two types of pinealocyte. So one is the dark and one is the light. So light pinealocytes are many and large cell types. Nucleus is greatly lobulated. Cytoplasm is basophilic and is devoid of glycogen. Ribosomes are more prominent. Dark pinealocytes are few in number and are comparatively very small in size. Nucleus is comparatively less lobulated. Large amount of glycogen droplets present in the cytoplasm. So here you can see the comparison of light and dark pinealocytes. So the next type of cell is the astrocytes. These are present between pinealocytes. Between two pinealocytes, one astrocyte is present. Nucleus is elongated and dense in nature. They have few mitochondria, Golgi bodies. ER is endoplasmic reticulum and ribosome. Occasional deposition of glycogen droplets can be seen in astrocytes. Now the physiological function. Pineal gland secretes melatonin. It controls sleepiness and wakefulness. Pineal gland controls the sex drive, hunger, thirst, and biological clock, which determines the body's normal aging process. So now the thyroid gland. So as you can see in the diagram, it is like butterfly shape. So it is called as Adam's apple. It is about 2 inches long, lies in front of your throat below the prominence of thyroid cartilage. The thyroid gland has two sides called lobes that lie on either side of your windpipe and is usually connected by a strip of thyroid tissue called as isthmus. In this diagram, you can see two lobes, that is in the orange color, two lobes are there, and in between small line that is also in orange color, that is the isthmus of thyroid gland. So the hormones secreted are triiodothyronine, that is T3, affects almost every physiological process in our body like growth and development, metabolism, body temperature, heart rate. The next hormone is the thyroxine, that is T4. It controls development and maturation. And the next hormone is the calcitonin. It is secreted by C cells of thyroid gland, effective to increase bone calcium and decreases blood calcium levels. The disorders of thyroid glands are goiter, hypothyroidism, and hyperthyroidism. So the first diagram we can see that is the goiter, and in second diagram you can see differences of hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. goiter. So it is abnormal enlargement of thyroid gland. The causes is the lack of iodine in the diet. So the symptoms you can see like coughing, lump or swelling in the neck region, so inability to tolerate heat, shortness of breath, throat tightness, weight gain, etc. Next is the hypothyroidism. So underactive thyroid. So here it is not majorly affected, it is underactive. So the condition in which thyroid gland doesn't produce enough thyroid hormone. So in hypothyroidism, there is like less production of thyroid hormones. The symptoms will be like fatigue, feeling cold, delayed puberty, hair loss or dryness in the hair, weight gain, brittle nails, dry skin, etc. Then we'll go to the hyperthyroidism. Here there is a overproduction of thyroid hormone. The symptoms will be like excess sweating, hunger, irritability or restlessness, mood swings, short and light menstruation, weight loss, puffy eyes, etc. So these are about the disorders of thyroid gland. So the following will have the parathyroid gland. So it is like it will be present on the thyroid gland only. So the parathyroid glands are small pea-shaped glands, pea-sized glands located in the neck just below the thyroid gland. Four parathyroid glands are present with two parathyroid glands lying behind each wing of thyroid gland. So here you can see the four dots. One pair will be present on each lobes of thyroid gland. It produces a hormone called parathyroid hormone. So the functions of parathyroid hormones is like it is important in tightly controlling calcium levels in bloodstream, increases activity of osteoclasts in bones. So diseases related to parathyroid gland are rickets, osteomecalcia, hypoparathyroidism, hyperparathyroidism. So in this the diagram that is this is the rickets. So what is this rickets? Rickets is nothing but softening and weakening of bones in children due to inadequate vitamin D. Symptoms will be like delayed growth, muscle cramps, flaccid or weakness in muscles, deformity of chest and rib, bowed legs, and deformity of skull. So next is osteomecalcia. It is in the third diagram. So here it is same as rickets, but softening of bones occurs only in children in rickets, but here it also occurs in young adults. So symptoms are same like bone pain, muscle weakness, bowed legs, deformity in skulls, flaccid and weakness in muscles, etc. Next is hypoparathyroidism. Here, low levels of parathyroid hormone production can be seen. Symptoms will be like twitching facial muscles, tingling of sensation in the fingertips, toes, and lips, tiredness, dry or rough skin, muscle cramps in legs, feet, and tummy, etc. Hyper hyperparathyroidism. Here, too much of parathyroid hormones are produced. Symptoms will be like difficulty in speaking and swallowing, lump in the neck, hypercalcemia, that is increase in calcium level in blood, drowsiness, kidney stones, etc. So that was about the parathyroid gland. So now let's move on to the thymus gland. So you can see the location of the thymus gland in this picture, that is pink in color. So the thymus gland is located behind your sternum and between your lungs and is only active until puberty. So this cannot be seen in the adults. It can be seen only in the children. After puberty, thymus gland starts to slowly shrink and become replaced by a fat. Unlike most organs, it is at its largest in children. The pinkish gray organ has two thymic lobes. Hormone produced is thymosin. So in this diagram, you can see the lobes of thymus gland. So what is the function of thymus? That is, before birth and throughout childhood, the thymus is instrumental in production and maturation of T lymphocytes or T cells. So these are your lymphatic cells, a specific type of white blood cells that protects the body from certain threats, including viruses and infection. The thymus produces and secretes thymosin, the hormone responsible or it is necessary for T cell development and production. So the diseases related to thymus gland are myasthenia gravis, pure red cell aplasia, and hypogammaglobulinemia. So in I have got only two pictures, that is of myasthenia gravis and pure red cell aplasia. I didn't get hypogammaglobulinemia. So what is this myasthenia gravis? Here, abnormal immune reaction, that is antibody mediated autoimmune response, in which antibodies inappropriately attack certain proteins in muscles that receive nerve impulses. Okay, so the symptoms will be like weakness of arms and legs, drooping of upper eyelid, difficulty in speaking and swallowing, shortness of breath, limited facial expression. So this was about the myasthenia gravis. Now it is pure red cell aplasia. So it can be congenital or acquired. Congenital means it can be like present before birth, and acquired is after birth you'll acquire, that is called acquired. So thus it is a syndrome, reduced or absence of crythyroid precursor from bone marrow. So, or you can also call it as maturation, arrest in formation of the erythrocytes. So, erythrocytes means your red blood cells. So, symptoms will be like lethargy, fatigue, and fullness of skin or paleness of skin. So, it will be like restriction in the skin, or you can also call it as anemic. The next disorder is the hypogammaglobulinemia. So it may result from primary genetic immune defects or by secondary effects such as the medication, blood cancer, loss of gamma globulins in urine. So this gamma globulins is nothing but the immunoglobulins, that is the antibody, IgG antibody. The symptoms be like ear pain, sore throat, nausea and vomiting, diarrhea, sinus pain and congestion, etc. So this was about the thymus gland. Now we'll move on to the important gland, that is the adrenal gland. So you can see it is present above the kidneys. So adrenal gland, also known as suprarenal glands, are small triangular shaped glands located on top of both kidneys. Adrenal glands are composed of two parts, that is the cortex and the medulla, which are each responsible for producing different hormones. So a bit anatomy will study, that is the adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla. Adrenal cortex is the outer region and also the largest part of adrenal gland. It is divided into three separate zones, that is zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. Each zone is responsible for producing specific hormones. The adrenal medulla is located inside the adrenal cortex in center of the adrenal gland. It produces stress hormones including adrenaline. The adrenal cortex and adrenal medulla are enveloped in an adipose capsule that forms a protective layer around the adrenal gland. So in this picture, you can see the outer capsule, the cortex, medulla, and inside you have some blood vessels. So based on layer, as I said, it is named differently and it produces different hormones. So before that, In the microscopic section diagram, you can see the outer capsule, and below you have zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis, and medulla. So based on this, we'll study their name and their product. So most which layer, that is the outermost layer, that is most superficial cortical layer, that is zona glomerulosa. It produces mineralocorticoids. The middle cortical layer is called zona fasciculata. It produces glucocorticoids. Then deepest cortical layer, that is zona reticularis, it produces weak head androgens. So mineralocorticoids example will be aldosterone, glucocorticoids, cortisol, weak androgens, that is adrenosterone. So each one will study their functions. So glucocorticoids, they are produced in zona fasciculata. Primary glucocorticoids released from the adrenal glands and corticosterone in many other animals. Its secretion is regulated by hormone ACTH from anterior pituitary. Main is the cortisol, that is hydrocortisone. Stress and circadian rhythm influence release if these hormones. So the functions will be like it stimulates the release of amino acid from the body, stimulates lipolysis, that is breakdown of lipids or also called as fat, stimulates glucogenesis, that is production of glucose, increases blood glucose level in response to stress by inhibiting glucose uptake into muscles and fat cells. It increases or it strengthens the cardiac muscle contraction, increases water retention, and has anti-inflammatory and anti-allergic effects. So now the mineralocorticoids. It is produced in zona glomerulosa. Primary mineralocorticoid is aldosterone. Aldosterone is secreted in response to high extracellular potassium levels, low extracellular sodium levels, low fluid level, and body volume. So the function of mineralocorticoids are increased reabsorption of sodium from distal renal tubules, that is in the nephron, increased excretion of K plus from distal renal tubules, increased excretion of distal renal tubules, increased water reabsorption from Na plus, decreased Na plus sweat, saliva, and other secretion, act as the regulator of blood pressure. Now the produced in zona reticularis, it is also called androgenic steroid. In males and females, it has different functions. So we'll list functions in male and also in the female. First, the male. Function as paracrine hormones required by Sertoli cells to support the sperm production. Then it also uses useful in spermatogenesis, inhibition of fat deposition, increasing muscle mass, and in brain, androgen levels have been implicated in the regulation of human aggression and libido. In females, ovaries produce androgen as an intermediate step in estrogen production. It will be useful in growth of pubic and axillary hair, pubertal growth spurt, development and maintenance of female sex drive. Androgens have potential role in relaxation of myometrium, preventing premature uterine contraction in pregnancy. So this was about the adrenal cortex. Now we'll go to the adrenal medulla. It is an extension of sympathetic nervous system. It acts as peripheral amplifier. The parenchyma of the adrenal medulla is composed of chromaffin cells, which are modified post-ganglionic sympathetic neurons. These cells secrete catecholamines into the bloodstream and have general effect of preparing the body for fight or flight. So the hormones produced in adrenal cortex are also called fight or flight hormones. The hormones in adrenal gland adrenal medulla are catecholamines. They are dopamine, adrenaline or non-adrenaline. It is also like similarly we have epinephrine and non-epinephrine. 80% of them are released. Catecholamines are epinephrine. So 80% the hormones of adrenal medulla are epinephrine. Hormones are secreted and stored in adrenal medulla, are released in response to stimuli. So the disorders will be like Cushing syndrome and Edison syndrome. So before that, epinephrine and non-epinephrine will learn some differences. Like uh, non-adrenaline and adrenaline, it is similar as epinephrine and nephrin. Epinephrine and norepinephrine. Non-adrenaline increases total peripheral resistance. It increases diastolic blood pressure, whereas adrenaline it decreases total peripheral resistance and it also decreases the diastolic blood pressure. Now we'll read about the syndrome, that is Cushing syndrome and Edison syndrome. Cushing syndrome, you can see in the first picture, that is overuse of cortisol medication or excess production of cortisol from tumor in adrenal gland. Symptoms be like excess sweating, excess hunger and laziness, increased blood pressure or osteoporosis, abnormal pad of fat between shoulder blades, acne, infertility, stretch marks or thinning, gradual swelling of face, and reduced sex drive, etc. So now the Addison's disease. It occurs when body doesn't produce cortisol hormones. So the symptoms will be like dehydration, loss of appetite, low blood pressure, low blood sugar, water electrolyte imbalance, absence of menstruation in female, darkening of skin, reduced sex drive will be in both disorders. You can see in the diagram. Pancreas. So you can see the place and location of the pancreas. Pancreas is located behind the stomach in the upper left abdomen. It is surrounded by other organs including the small intestine, liver and spleen. It is spongy but 6 to 10 inches long. It is shaped like a flat pear or a fish extended horizontally across the abdomen. Almost all of the pancreas, 95%, consists of exocrine tissue. The remaining tissue consists of endocrine cells called islets of Langerhans. So, as I said before, it is a heterocrine gland because it has both endocrine and exocrine in function. Now, a bit anatomy. The white part is called the head of pancreas. It is positioned towards the center of abdomen. This is where the stomach empties partially digested food into the intestine, and the pancreas releases digestive enzymes into these contents. The central section of the pancreas is called the neck or body. The thin end is called as tail and it extends to the left side. So in this diagram, you can see the head, neck, body and tail. So the hormones produced are insulin, glucagon. So insulin is which acts to lower blood sugar, glucagon which acts to raise blood sugar. So the disorders of pancreas can be listed as acute pancreatitis, chronic pancreatitis, hereditary pancreatitis, and pancreatic cancer. So acute pancreatitis, you can see in the right side diagram, the picture. It is caused due to presence of gallstones caused due to causes of inflammation of pancreas. Symptoms be like upper abdominal pain, rapid pulse, nausea, and vomiting. You can see the inflammation of pancreas in the diagram. So the next one we'll talk about is the chronic pancreatitis. It is the inflammation of pancreas. It gets worsen over time and it lead to permanent damage. You can see there are In this diagram, you can see the inflamed pancreas with more gallstones, that is calcified gallstones. The symptoms will be like oily stools, nausea and vomiting, severe belly pain, weight loss, pain in upper belly that spreads into the backside. So the next one is the hereditary pancreatitis, which is caused due to mutation in PRSS1 gene. It is inherited in an autosomal dominant pattern, and it may lead to pancreatic cancer. So this is the diagram of pancreatic cancer. The symptoms will be like fluid in abdomen, nausea, fatigue, dark urine, weight loss, yellow skin and eyes, pain in abdomen, and pain in the middle back. So these are the references from where I had taken the information. So this brings the end to my presentation. By this, I would like to conclude that every reactions and emotions are controlled by the hormones. Even a slight changes in the hormones, hormonal quantity, or delay in the hormonal production leads to severe disorders. So thank you all for your attention and valuable time. Thank you, ma'am, for this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you, dear Sona, for such a wonderful presentation. It's really a worth and hope our students will definitely utilize all the information, whatever you shared in this particular seminar talk. Thank you, everyone, for joining this meeting. Thank you.